Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the Spanish Football Podcast. I'm Phil Kitromilides. Sid Lowe is off on a train travelling to Bilbao, so Alex Kirkland is with me. Hello, Al.
Hello, Kitro. How's it going?
I'm good. Sid obviously travelling to the north of Spain. Arsenal visiting Bilbao in the Champions League, so he's off north for that one, which means that he will join us hopefully a little bit later on in the programme with his thoughts on Atletico Madrid against Villarreal, which he was at on Saturday evening. This is what happened on Matchday 4. Friday night saw an entertaining game between Sevilla and Elche. Sevilla were ahead, then Elche were ahead, then Sevilla equalised, and it finished 2-2. Elche's strong start to the season continues. On Saturday, I think Sid paid €100 for a ticket to watch Oviedo lose 2-0 at Getafe.
He sent us some choice messages. What did he say? He said, "We know what Getafe are like, but when they're playing your team, it's something else."
Yes. I think he was a little bit frustrated, but it was a nice day at least. At least it wasn't raining. But yeah, Getafe beating Oviedo 2-0, both goals coming in injury time at the end of the first half. Real Madrid went up to San Sebastian and beat Real Sociedad by 2-1. A brilliant individual performance from Kylian Mbappe. Some controversy as well as Dean Howson was sent off in the first half. The Basque derby at San Mamés between Athletic Club and Alaves was won 1-0 by Alaves. Big result for them. And Atletico Madrid got their first win of the season, beating Villarreal 2-0 at the Metropolitano, a first goal on his debut for summer signing Nico Gonzalez. Then on Sunday, Borja Iglesias scored in injury time again for Celta Vigo to salvage a point at home to Girona. It was in the 93rd minute. The Panda scored a penalty, Girona getting their first point of the campaign. Levante and Betis finished 2-2. Levante were 2-0 up after 9 minutes, but Betis clawed back a point. Osasuna beat Rayo 2-0 at El Sadar. Rayo absolutely never, ever win in Pamplona. And Barcelona absolutely dismantled Valencia 6-0 at the Estadi Johan Cruyff. Monday Night Football is Espanyol against Mallorca. Now, there's a lot going on at patreon.com/TSFP. Our patrons get a Q&A pod and a bonus pod every single week. Plus, there's the newsletter and the Discord. Some of our top-tier patrons also get a weekly diary entry. This week, it meant that Sid was taking them behind the scenes at the Metropolitano. It's a really good listen, that. He's down in the tunnel in the mix zone waiting to speak to players. So, worth checking that one out. You can join us from €4.75 a month. Right, out lots of stuff for us to talk about, and not a huge amount of time because you've got to go to Valdebebas for Real Madrid's training session and press conference ahead of the Champions League game with Marseille tomorrow. So let's get to it and start off by talking about the game last night between Barcelona and Valencia. Barca thrashing Valencia 6-0. It was 1-0 at halftime, but Barca absolutely took them apart in the second half. Valencia falling apart again against Barcelona. Last season, they won this fixture 7-1, and they'd also beaten them 5-0 in the Copa del Rey last season.
Did you see Carlos Corberán was saying, look, I still haven't quite gotten this right against Barca. He basically apologized, maybe next time.
Yes, Jose Luis Gaya, the Valencia captain, after the game, absolutely furious. And he was just saying, we've had 2 weeks. We had 2 weeks to prepare for this game, and we still couldn't do it right. So, they didn't do a lot right in this game. For Barca, the starting 11 was pretty interesting because none of the theoretical first choice front three started. Lamine was obviously injured. Lewandowski has been on the bench for all 4 games this season in La Liga, so I'm not sure if he is first choice anymore.
Yeah.
And Rafinha was punished, Al.
Yeah, he turned up late. Not much, but a little bit late for it was the activation session they called it, don't they, earlier in the day. And we've seen this before with Hansi Flick. He's very strict. No, without we're talking to any sort of national stereotypes about German efficiency and punctuality. Rafinha wasn't on time and he didn't start, although he wasted no time in coming on at half time and scoring twice. You're right. You looked at the starting 11 and you thought, oh, okay, interesting. I'm sort of intrigued as to how this goes. Theoretically weaker, although, like you say, we can debate whether in those positions the likes of Varane versus Lewandowski, if it's weaker or not, didn't matter. Didn't matter at all because they, in the end, as you say, blew Valencia away. I want to talk about Fermin in particular, because I've got to say, when there was all this talk about him leaving over the summer, I kept thinking to myself, why? why on earth would you let this kid go? When I don't know about you, but for me, I mean, he might be Barcelona's best player in that position.
Well, for money, for lots of money.
Yeah. But again, but then you look at
lots of much needed money.
I know, and the list of candidates that they can make that money on is relatively limited. But he is not a player that you want to let go because, like I say, I think he might be Barcelona's best number 10. Dani Olmo's great, but in terms of goal and in terms of like end products, I think he's a really, really useful player, and he showed it again here. And he's started the season almost like a man with a point to prove.
Yes. Well, I've got that feeling with quite a few of the players in the Barcelona team, actually, that it feels
that's
like...
ideal, isn't it? That's exactly what you want. If you've got a bunch of players who really want to tell you, send you a message, then that's great.
Yeah, Fermin definitely with a point to prove. And actually, I think he's ahead of Dani Olmo in the pecking order at the moment, even though he hasn't necessarily started every game. Dani Olmo, his form over the last end of last season and start of this season, not particularly impressive. So I think Fermin is ahead of him. And, apparently when Fermin was being linked with a move away, Barcelona, the figure that we saw in the Catalan press, 70 million euros they wanted. And I thought, that's quite a lot for Fermin.
For that, actually, if it's that, maybe you think about it. If it's 40, absolutely not. But for 70, you at least give it some thought.
He does have
goals.
What's
your take on Ferran versus Bobby Lou?
Listen, I was commentating this game and I was reflecting on it.
Did you refer to Lewandowski as your favourite Chicago-based
Bobby Lewandowski? I didn't know, but I was reflecting on this I didn't think we saw this coming, that Ferran would develop and evolve into a really quite effective number 9, and there's loads of facets of his play which I would not have imagined him being sort of able to do even a year and a half ago. Didn't think that he would be able to hold up the ball like he holds it. He can draw fouls in a sort of number 9 style. There's some movement in the box that we saw in the first half. I think him turning and spinning round and getting a shot away, which didn't look like Ferran. Ferran, we thought he was a sort of a wide player who can run. He needs to run into space and sort of diagonally run into goal like that. I didn't associate him with being this kind of player, and he's obviously thought, listen, if I'm going to play in this team, I need to be the number 9. I'm the backup to Bobby Lou, and he was last season because there was nobody in the squad who was a backup to Bobby Lewandowski, and now he started all 4 games and he's scoring, scored in almost every game, I think, and looking really sharp and looking like a number 9. So I think he understands what he needs to do in that position and what he can bring to the team. Obviously, Bobby Lewandowski is not happy being on the bench. He came off the bench with a point to prove and duly scored 2 goals. Fermin scored twice, Rafinha scored twice, and Bobby Lou scored twice. So lots of points being proven there. But yeah, I'm really impressed with Ferran, actually, genuinely impressed. And I wasn't sure if he had the sort of footballing intelligence as well. I between you and me, listeners, I wasn't a massive fan of Ferran Torres. I didn't rate him that highly, and now I've been really impressed.
I mean, it's a conversation we had last season a few times where we were talking about, is he the kind of centre forward that might actually be a more natural fit for this version of Barca, this Hansi Flick Barca. But you're right. I think we thought, okay, there are some things he does really well in terms of his mobility, the kinds of runs that he makes. He's a good finisher, but there were, as you say, there were other aspects of his game that we weren't so sure about. And what he's done is he's improved on those. And now he looks like an all-round player. I don't think that he's a definite starter, but like you say, so far this season, yeah. And then that makes that works for Barca. If you've got Lewandowski there on the bench who can come on and still be decisive, at the age that he is, even though he looks after himself, then that's the kind of role that I think you want a player at that stage in their career to have. And if Ferran keeps performing at this kind of level and keeps getting better, then he's right now his first choice.
Good to see Marc Bernal come back from injury, came off the bench and duly provided a really nice assist for Robert Lewandowski after a really horrific injury on Matchday 3 of last season. Started the first 3 games of the campaign. Everyone was thinking this might be the closest fit that Barcelona have to possibly replacing Sergio Busquets, and then he gets this horrendous injury, which keeps him out for over a year. And they're going to take their time in bringing him back, but it's good to see. And it means they've got loads of options now in midfield. Pedri will start almost every game, I would have thought, but alongside him, you've got Casado, you've got Bernal, you've got Frankie de Jong. I don't know how many minutes Gavi's going to play, but let's see how many minutes Gavi gets.
Well, there are concerns about Gavi, aren't there? About this, he's not right. He's not fit. Are they going to stick with sort of conservative treatment for this knee problem? Will surgery be needed at some point? But yeah, options there for sure. The other big question is after this game, Phil. I mean, should Barca play there every week? Should they just forget Camp Nou? Just play 100% records.
Yeah.
Play at the Estadio Johan Cruyff.
Yeah. It was nice. It was a bit like watching Eibar back in the.
It's got a similar look. The stadium, right? That sort of kind of boxy and that sort of size of the stands. Yeah. Very, very similar to Eibar. And there are even some. I think I saw someone. There are some flats that overlook the ground, right? Just like in Eibar. So if you've got the right flat with the right balcony, you've got a great view as well.
Absolutely. So big win for Barcelona, beating Valencia 6-0.
This episode of TSFP is brought to you by our friends at NordVPN.
Now, we travel a lot covering Spanish football, whether it's following Spanish teams around Europe in the Champions League.
Or Sid's going to at least 3 league games every weekend.
The best way to make sure you've got access to all your content from back home is using NordVPN.
I can personally vouch for this. I used it a lot when I was away in the States in the summer for the Club World Cup, and it was great.
Yeah, you can use it to keep up with the football, TV shows or movies. NordVPN lets you access your subscriptions back home wherever you are.
Yeah, it's really easy to use, which is important if you're not tech savvy like some of us, not mentioning any names, Sid.
And me, to be honest, as well. I'm not particularly tech savvy, but there you go. It also improves your internet security, which is important if you spend a lot of time using public Wi-Fi, let's say at train stations, airports, hotel lobbies, not mentioning any names. Sid.
Yeah, where Sid spends about 90% of his spare time.
You connect with just one click. It's one of the fastest VPNs around, and you can use up to 10 devices with one account. For more information, this is really important. You need to head to nordvpn.com/TSFP.
Yeah, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee. You also get 4 extra months for free. What's the link again, Phil?
You can find it in the show notes. It's nordvpn.com/TSFP. Now, friend of the pod, Brendan Madden, aka Futboles La Leche on Twitter, has released a book. It's called Once Upon a Time in La Liga, and it's full of Spanish stories you'll love reading. We've got 2 signed copies shipped to anywhere in Europe up for grabs. Sorry, US listeners, Royal Mail currently aren't delivering there. To win, answer this question. Yes, answer this question. Apart from FC Barcelona, which other Spanish club did Johan Cruyff play for? Apart from FC Barcelona, which other Spanish club did Johan Cruyff play for? Send your answers to Brendan at onceuponatimeInLaLiga.com. He'll pick 2 winners. That's Brendan at onceuponatimeInLaLiga.com. And get involved.
We've got our copies already. Well, I say you haven't. I have. I've got our TSFP copies. I've got to drop yours and Sid's off with you at some point.
Yes, you've got our copies. So there we go. Right.
Although I noticed, Kitro, they weren't signed. I don't know what Brendan was thinking. No little. I mean, our names do feature amongst because we've got some little what do you call it? In the blurb there, from us. But an actual no handwritten message. Just nothing. No personal touch.
I see. Brendan hates us. That's not very nice. I thought, you are the wind beneath my wings. That's what Sid, that's his dedication to me when he signed my copy of Fear and Loathing in La Liga.
Well, the one that you still haven't read.
The one that I have not massively read, no. It says, you are the wind beneath my wings, which is lovely and emotional. Let's talk about Real Madrid's trip to the Real Arena, where they beat Real Sociedad by 2-1. We'll talk about the red card in a minute. Not as much as everyone else in Spain has done, but we will talk about it. But I think the first thing we have to kick off by is just reflecting on the form of Kylian Mbappe, who scored the first goal, set up the second goal. And at the moment, he is beginning to look unstoppable, which is bad news for everyone else and really very good news for Real Madrid.
Yeah, I thought he was unbelievable in this game. I mean, he's been very, very good all season. Look, he wasn't bad last year. We've talked about that in terms of the numbers, the goals that he was scoring, but he didn't look anything close to this level in terms of his all-round game. It's not just the goals that he's scoring, although the goal he scored here was taken with, I mean, there wasn't a fraction of a second where you thought that he wouldn't score the chance that he had. He put it away with just such absolute conviction and confidence. But like I say, it's everything that he's doing. You know, you look at the move for the Arda Güler goal, the second goal that starts with Güler and then Mbappe and then back to Güler for the finish. It's every single aspect of his game. And I mean, you said unstoppable. I mean, the Villarreal defense here, they couldn't, it was almost like he could do whatever he wanted. He could literally do whatever he wanted, and there was nothing that anybody could do about it. And when you've got a player playing at that kind of level and with that degree of confidence, I mean, it's very good news for Real Madrid, and it's bad news for everybody else. Yeah, this looks to me, I don't know if this is what I expected last season. Maybe that was unrealistic or unfair, but this is kind of what I thought Real Madrid were getting, which is Mbappe in sort of career best form, without having watched him that closely at PSG, certainly not domestically. Like, I think he looks to me now as good as he's ever looked.
Agreed. It's the combination of skill, strength, and speed, which you saw perfectly in the first goal. The defender was never going to get there. Obviously, he's quicker than him, but he's stronger than the defender as well. And then the finish is so swift and instinctive. And
yeah, he looks like if you were going to sort of engineer a forward in like a lab.
Yeah,
it's like this is what you'd end up with.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to. It's a bit like the feeling you got at times with, Ronaldo Nazario in his prime. That kind of feeling of someone is physically unstoppable.
Like, good luck.
Yeah. So that's good for Real Madrid and for La Liga as well, to have one of the world's best players looking very much in their prime. Interesting team selection for this game from Xabi Alonso, ahead probably because of the Champions League and coming off the back of an international break. Fede Valverde was left on the bench. That never happens. You got a rest.
Well, he's been a very busy boy, hadn't he, in the international break, with, I think, playing either 90 minutes or close to 90 minutes in both of Uruguay's games, I think against Peru and Chile, and the transatlantic travel and everything else. So I think we kind of saw international commitments reflected in that team selection, although not entirely, because of course, Carvajal started, having been with Spain, and Trent was on the bench despite having not been with England. So that doesn't that's not true throughout the team, but I think that's probably the case with Fede.
Okay, so the red card, obviously this game absolutely conditioned by Dean Howson getting sent off after around about half an hour. It's a very controversial decision. He pulls back Mikel Oyarzabal, who is a long way from goal, potentially could have been through, but Eder Militao was pretty close as well. I was commentating this game and I tried to hide the massive surprise in my voice when the red card was very quickly shown by the referee. There was no VAR check. He wasn't told to go and review it. Obviously, it's a decision that has been talked about a little bit here in Madrid over the last 48 hours or so. I mean, it shouldn't have been a red, right? It didn't feel like a red.
Yeah, I loved I mean, there are a few clips of Xabi Alonso talking to the referee, Gil Manzano, on the pitch after the game, but there's the bit when Alonso clearly says to him, this one's going to the CTA for sure, referring to these new weekly videos that the referees committee are putting out with kind of controversial decisions and analysing publicly for the first time whether they're correct or not. We got the first instalment last week, and Xabi Alonso was saying this one's on the shortlist for inclusion in this week's edition. Let's break it down. There are two questions here which you mentioned. The first one is the referee's decision to send him off, and the second one is the VAR decision not to intervene and ask the ref to take a look. There seems to me to be a consensus around Spanish football, pundits, players, former referees. I think almost everyone agrees that it should not have been a red card. This was a yellow card, and I think that's why Howson does it. Like, he does it, he makes the foul intention. Everyone accepts it's a foul, and he does it intentionally because in his mind it's clear. He knows that Militao's alongside him, and he knows they're basically on the halfway line and miles from goal. So he does this, I think, accepting the yellow card because he thinks it's the right move in terms of managing the game. But he's then sort of staggered, and we see Howson, holding up two fingers to say there were two of us.
Yeah.
To get the red. Then now I've seen different analyses of the decision of the VAR not to intervene, and some reporting today that the view from the referees committee is that the VAR was right not to intervene. Now it's difficult, isn't it? Because we want VAR to intervene when there are clear mistakes, but at the same time, there has been a directive this season for VAR to get involved less and to only be getting involved for clear mistakes. So once again, it comes down to your interpretation of how I think most people seem to think this is a clear mistake and one that should have been reviewed. But that's the issue. Like I say, is how much autonomy are we giving on-field referees? How much responsibility are we putting on there to take these decisions? And if that's the decision of the referee, okay. If that's his interpretation, okay, we go with it.
There were some other quotes from Xabi Alonso, unofficial quotes picked up by the
Lip
TV
read,
microphone.
yeah.
Lip read, when he went to go and speak to the referee.
Like, Jesus, I don't want to, mate. I don't want to.
Yeah.
But you make, what was it? Me haces pensar mal, tío, was what he
Yeah.
said, right? In Spanish. You make me, I don't want to think it, but you're
Yeah.
making me think badly. You know,
badly of the refs.
Suspect. Yeah.
Yes. They're not the only ones. He's not the only one thinking badly of the refs. Real Madrid.
Oh no, a dossier as we speak.
A dossier
is piled by. I like the idea of this dossier. I'm thinking sort of newspaper clippings being sort of cut out and sort of Pritt sticked into some sort of album. I'm thinking there's a wall of Valdebebas with lots of red bits of string connecting sort of dots and suspects and crimes.
It's a dossier to FIFA complaining about refereeing decisions.
What was this was announced on this was announced on Real Madrid TV after the game. This hasn't been, they haven't put out like an official statement on the website, and it was just said on Real Madrid TV. They said the club is compiling a dossier for FIFA to make them take note. I think the exact phrasing was of what is happening in Spain. Now, of course, what this actually means in practical terms, like what are FIFA going to do about it when they get that dossier? Like, what does Gianni Infantino do when that dossier lands on his desk? Probably nothing. Now, of course, the implication is we know that while Real Madrid's relationship with all sorts of other bodies, the league, UEFA, the federation, is kind of broken, the one good relationship they have is with FIFA, with the Club World Cup and everything else. So I guess the idea is that FIFA are going to back us where others don't. But like I say, what that backing could possibly consist of when, the Spanish Federation are a member of FIFA and, the president sits on, FIFA committees and so on. I don't know.
We shall see. We shall see what comes of that. But anyway, they did get 3 points. They have made it 4 wins out of 4 at the start of the season. It has been a really good start for Real Madrid and Xabi Alonso. A quick word on Real Sociedad, who are still to win, just 2 points from their opening 4 games. They are badly struggling for goals, as they did last season. Only Getafe and Valladolid scored fewer goals than them last season, and they are not creating too many chances this year either. Thought Carlos Soler looked good when he came on. He could be a good signing for them, no?
Yeah, he gives me a bit of hope because he's a player that I think we've always really liked. We loved him at Valencia. We were sort of sad when he left the league. It hasn't quite worked out for him at PSG and in England, and he's back. And I think he has the ability to be one of the best midfielders in the league. And they need that. So if he can get up to speed and be basically the heart of that team going forward, then that gives me a little bit of optimism. Otherwise, as we've discussed, as Sid has discussed, I think we're a little bit concerned about where LALIGA are gonna end up. I was just gutted not to be there, Kitcher. I was supposed to be there for work, and at the last minute plans changed. I was not there at Anoeta for this game, so that was my overwhelming sensation was one of disappointment at not being there.
Disappointment and fury. Your bosses. Why?
I mean, it was too good to be true. It was too good to be true. It was San Sebastian, one of the best cities in the whole world. It was an afternoon kickoff, 4:15 kickoff local time, which means you finish work in time to go out and enjoy the city afterwards. And it's one of the few stadiums that I've never, for whatever reason, I've never been there for work. So it was, it did indeed turn out to be too good to be true. In the end, I didn't get to go.
Yes, this is going to take quite some time for Al to get over this big blow. But anyway. Give it time, mate. Give it time. Let's hear from Sid, shall we? Atletico Madrid beat Villarreal by 2-0. First win of the season for Atleti. They really, really needed this big win for Diego Simeone's side. Right.
If you're watching on YouTube, you won't have heard that because we're trying to work out the old TSFB tradition of inserting voice notes into the pod. in the video age, there are, well, what it will take is for Sid to record a video rather than a voice note. But he's not always, he's sometimes resistant to that. So while we're working on playing those videos straight into the show, for now, YouTube viewers will have to just imagine what Sid might have, and go and listen to the audio anyway. Do both. Watch on YouTube and then go and listen. You don't need to just,
maybe you could do it at the same time. Yeah.
Well, mute,
sync it up.
Watch on YouTube, but muted while listening to the audio, and just make sure you hit play at the right time.
Yeah. Could be interesting. Before we go, this is what happened in the Segunda. Some big results at the top of the table. Yeah. Leaders Racing were beaten 4-2 at home by Cultural Leonesa. Cultural were 4-0 up at one point. Sporting, who've had a good start to the season, lost 3-2 at home to Burgos. And Depor are flying. They won 5-1 at Mirandés. Elsewhere, Cádiz beat Eibar. Valladolid beat Almería 3-1. So it's Racing who are top with 12 points. Then Depor, Valladolid and Cádiz, who are all on 11. Oof.
It's very, very early, Kid Show, so let's not get ahead of ourselves. But Depor, keep an eye on Depor. We've got Oviedo back. Depor are next. We need Depor back in Primera. It hasn't been as long as it was for Oviedo, but it's been a little while. We need them back. So let's hope that keeps their fine form continues.
Yeah, fingers crossed. All right, listen, we're going to leave it there. Thanks, everyone, for listening to this week's edition of TSFP. We're over at patreon.com/TSFP for the rest of the week. Loads of content coming up, a Q&A pod tomorrow. Send us your questions. If there's anything we didn't talk about, there are lots of things we didn't talk about, we'll answer it on the Q&A pod tomorrow. There's a bonus pod on Thursday. The newsletter will be out later. So much Spanish football content. Patreon.com/TSFP. And if you don't want to join us, then make sure you listen to the preview pod on Friday. Thanks for listening. Adios.
Bye.